Hope you guys had a great Turkey Day, and now we're here to talk about Penn State Senior Day.
I'm stuffed on food, but I'm ready to get stuffed on football.
Someone's missing. Steve Jones. He's in Mexico at the Hard Rock calling basketball games. I have this visual of a margarita in this hand, a sombrero, and he's going to take a siesta at halftime. No rest for us, no siestas. The Blue-White Tailgate is coming up next. Happy Thanksgiving weekend, everyone. Todd, Sadowski, Jay Paterno, Josh Sperber filling my seat, which is an easy seat to fill. This one stinks of responsibility. I got to sit and step the backup quarterback. The backup quarterback. That's right. They're not going to let me throw the ball. They're going to pull a Rutgers. I got to just keep handing it off, or Wisconsin. I'm just going to keep handing it off to you guys for the entire show. Welcome in. It's already the final regular season game, guys. Week number 12. What do you think?
Well, I think back in the summer, if you were realistic, you looked at there was a lot of people to replace in key spots. Anybody thought this team was going to go 12-0 or 11-1 was probably kidding themselves. It's a young team. It's got a good future, and I think that's what people got to look to build on.
Well, I mean, didn't we just get here? I mean, it's hard to believe the season's already over. Almost, but it's like you said. There's a lot of young guys. There's definitely some good and some bad things that we've seen from Penn State this season. But a lot of reserves have come into key positions, and it's just bodes well for the future. There's a lot of good potential on this Penn State team.
Regardless of how we got here, they're 8-3. Most people were hoping they'd be 9-2. One play against Michigan State could have happened that way. Shop Talk brought to you by Ace of State College. Coach Franklin, he goes right to those critical stats at the end of a game.
I think the first thing that kind of comes out is something in the games that we have been successful. It's a similar storyline. We dominated what we call all the critical statistics. So drive start battle, we won. The turnover battle, we won. The penalty battle, we won. And the explosive play battle, we won. So I think that to me is the overall storyline of the game.
You win those statistics, you're going to win most games. We were joking the explosive play battle was 1-0. There just wasn't really a lot of explosive plays. It wasn't a lot of explosive plays in this game. Why so? Why did they look so lackluster?
Well, it's hard. We missed some open guys, dropped some passes. I think that was a big thing, and I think that when you look at it, your longest run of the game against the 115th ranked run defense in the country was 9, and so that's a concerning number as you go into the Maryland game.
And I think it's some of the same concerns we've talked about all season. They looked better in the 4-minute drive part at the end of the game. They were running the ball more efficiently, but Miles Sanders still fumbled. So, it's been some of the same problems week in, week out for Penn State that they just have not finely tuned and they just haven't fixed.
Josh is sitting here with us. That means we need somebody new on the PSECU update desk. That's where we bring in Brittany Wier.
Welcome to the PSECU pregame update. I'm Brittany Wier, and I'm filling in for Josh Sperber today. We start off with Trey Mcsorley, who became the winningest quarterback in Penn State history with his 30th career victory coming against Rutgers. He also became the 4th player in Big Ten history responsible for 100 total touchdowns. Mcsorley joins punter Blake Gilligan on co-SIDA Academic All-District honorees. Both players are on the ballot to be named co-SIDA Academic All-Americans. Now let's take a look at some Lions in the league. Starting with Saquon Barkley, who ran for a career-high 142 yards and scored 3 total touchdowns in the Giants' victory over Tampa Bay. In the same game, Carl Nassib tied for 4th on the Bucs with 6 tackles and half a sack. And if you haven't seen it yet, there was a crazy finish to the WCAC championship game. In the final 30 seconds, there was a total of 3 touchdowns, capped off with a game-winning Hail Mary for Gonzaga to win 46-43. I'll be back later in the show with some picks that are definitely going to be better than the boys.
All right, I like it. Throwing some shade at us right away, Brittany. Okay, let's get to the drive of the game. And they didn't have a lot of long drives. This one only 28 yards and 4 plays for Penn State as they take advantage of a turnover. Garrett Taylor gets the interception, and they go right to the drive of the game. 2 plays, they go up 10-0, Jay.
That was as bad a turnover as you're going to see. I mean, he was throwing the ball away and threw it right to Garrett Taylor. But the important thing is they got 7 out of it because Penn State was having some trouble in the red zone, which has been unusual for them this year.
Blaze Alexander, plays of the week. Josh, let's go to you. We're going to have our first player of the week, and that is offensively, and that is going to be the freshman tight end, Pat Fryermuth. This guy, all he does is seem to score touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, this was an easy decision. I mean, he only had 3 receptions, but they all went for big yards, 2 scores. I mean, we've seen what this guy can do. Just a true freshman. We've talked about the potential of this Penn State team, and he's a big reason why.
While we're on the subject of true freshmen, the Blaze Alexander defensive player of the game, Micah Parsons. He's playing some linebacker. He looks like he's playing some D-end. He looks like he's doing it all as far as hybrid position, Jay.
Well, I think he made some plays that jumped out at you this week more so than he has at any time all year, and we'll see if that continues.
Okay, updated bowl projections. Is there something to play for in the final regular season game? You bet there is. If the Peach Bowl's at stake, or potentially the Fiesta Bowl again, or we might be looking at the Citrus with the Wild Wings. Guys, what do you think? Where do you want them to be?
Any bowl trip is great. I mean, play the best team you can possibly play, and that's what you want to do.
All right, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. They got a lot to play for. They're also trying to get to that 10th win if they can win the bowl game as well. More talk about Maryland when we come back on the Blue White Tailgate. The Maryland-Penn State series. First game way back in 1917, and over those 100 years, the Nittany Lions have lost to the Terps exactly twice, 38-2-1. Of course, they didn't play every single year. This is the hammer and the nail series. Take a guess who's who.
Oh, I know who's who because I was part of a number of them. A number of times. Didn't matter how good Maryland was. They'd miss a field goal. We'd block a kick, knock away a 2-point conversion. We've pretty much owned them.
38-1, Josh. That's domination.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no other word for it. It's not much of a series when one team has won that many times, but there was one loss that Penn State had, and I think it was 2014. So there's still some memory of loss in between these teams. But Penn State, you know, in every part of this rivalry series, whatever you want to call it, it's been blue.
And the Terps thought they won the national championship when they won that game.
Oh, I was there, I know.
They celebrated pretty hard for that one. Okay, the senior day. James Franklin, 5th year. Most of these guys coming out of the tunnel, if not all, are his guys. It's going to be an emotional day for him, he says, and he wants to send them out in style.
Trace McSorley, Amani Aruwe, all these seniors, they deserve that stadium to be sold out, and they deserve to be sent out the right way. And I know it's going to be an emotional day for me. I want everybody to enjoy this win and all those types of things. But I am personally asking all of the Penn State lettermen to get back to State College, because I think we all owe these seniors a world of gratitude.
Experienced a lot of senior days, Jay. Did you have to have the tissues, the handkerchiefs ready? An emotional day for you? I mean, it is strange, though. It evokes
Well, I was
some
up in the
unique
box,
emotions,
so
right?
nobody could see me. So
Yeah.
I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I could blubber away. But, it is, you see these guys come in, and they come in as high school senior, right out of high school. They think they have all the answers. Then they realize they don't have any answers. And then by the time they're ready to go, they realize they got all the answers again. And it's a great progression to see.
And once they say hi to their folks, once they're introduced, it's time to play football. Let's take a look at the full screen we got with the numbers to stack up the tail of the tape. We've got Penn State's offense versus Maryland's defense. What stands out to you guys when you see that full screen and you see all those numbers up there? What numbers do you pick out? Josh?
Well, it's the passing versus rushing yards thing. I mean, Maryland has a lot of running backs that they use on a consistent basis, and Hill can run. His passing game's been kind of up and down this season. We'll talk about that later in the show. But, I mean, that disparity between their pass and rush offense is huge.
Now, Ohio State shredded Maryland. I mean, for 400 yards throwing the ball with Dwayne Haskins. Do you see that similar things happen? I know you've been on this passing game that has kind of regressed during the season.
Well, I think Ohio State's got a very veteran group of receivers. And, Ohio State really moved the ball very, very effectively, had a lot of big plays. The question is, can Penn State's receivers grow up? Because this is a talented secondary in Maryland. I'm going to talk about that in the film room.
Trey Watson made a lot of tackles for the Terrapins. What do we need to know about this guy?
I mean, he's one of the most experienced guys I had on this team. Granted, a few years with Illinois before he transferred to Maryland, but he's a Big Ten leader in tackles. And anytime you see a linebacker with 5 interceptions is impressive. I mean, this is a guy with speed coming in from the second level, but he can also drop back in coverage and make big plays.
Now, look, Jay, you wanted to see Penn State run the ball about 50 times last week, right? Just
That
keep
was the
feeding
key.
Miles Sanders, keep feeding Miles Sanders. But I think what we discovered is that if Trace isn't 100% healthy, it's a little bit easier for teams to stop the run game. Can they reignite this against the Terps?
Well, I think
this
the big
weekend?
thing is going to be, can the offensive line move people? When people play the run against them? Because I think right now, if you're Maryland, you're going to lock up your wideouts, the two outside wideouts, and say they got to win the game between the hashes, so to speak, run the football, and they have. Penn State did not show that ability last week. I think it's going to be a challenge for them this week.
Let's flip to the other side of the ball and take a look at how Maryland's offense stacks up against Penn State's defense. Look, Penn State's defense is it's almost been defense first for these guys. They've become the big play guys with sacks and putting the team behind schedule.
No question about it. I think that's going to be critical because Maryland does give up a lot of sacks, and Maryland is a one-handed team, so to speak. They're a team that's going to run the ball, and throw it as a mix-up. And Penn State has done well against the one-handed teams.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Wisconsin last week, a couple big runs by Taylor, but Maryland has that same kind of ability, though. That's something you got to watch out for. I mean, they just tore up Ohio State in the run game. You saw all of their backs, McFarland, Leak, get to the outside, and they were gone.
Well,
And I think this is probably the best group of skill guys, speed-wise, that Penn State has played since Ohio State. When you look at guys that get in the open, they're gone.
all right, Robert Windsor says the D-line's got to take over this ball game against the Terps.
When we talk amongst each other, we always tell ourselves, we'll put the game on us. Let's not worry about what the offense is doing. Let's not worry about what anyone else is doing. We can control the game with what we do. And that's kind of mentality we have amongst each other.
200-yard games for Anthony McFarland. Not one, two in a row. This guy's serious speed, Jay.
Like I said, when he gets out, this is an offense that if Penn State misses a tackle, it's 7 points, and that's what they got to be aware of on Saturday, not give those plays up.
They give up sacks, though, and Penn State gets sacks. They're in the top 5 in the country in sacks, so look for that defensive line to go down and chase down those Maryland quarterbacks. All right, when we come back, we head to the film room. Jay and I break it down some more. We're back on the Blue White Tailgate. We have shifted to the film room. It is brought to you by Beer, Belly's Beverage. And not only are we in the film room, we went back into Jay's closet, or he did, and he pulled out vintage.
1999, kind of Letterman's jacket, appropriate for senior day, I think.
Fantastic. And, can wear it to your Thanksgiving dinner.
Very comfortable.
Absolutely. Okay, so Penn State will be feasting on Maryland's defense and vice versa. What do you see here when you break down this film? Where do you want to start?
Well, let's talk with Maryland's offense and their run game. And, it's not just the running backs. We talked a lot about the running backs, but take a look at this graphic and see how much yardage they get out of wide receivers, tight ends on those little jet sweeps, and their quarterback run game. So that's something that Penn State's going to take care of. Let's talk first about their base run game. You're going to see a lot of motion from these guys, and this is the same offense. Matt Canada's the guy who's the offensive coordinator at Pitt 2 years ago when they beat Penn State, and they ran these little jet sweeps to death. They're going to fake this jet sweep and come off and run, and it's an inside zone play, and they've got really good backs. Let's take a look at the film on this one. Really good backs, very decisive, and again, they have a number of backs that can make things happen. Very great acceleration through the hole, and they're good up front. So don't fall asleep and think this is going to be one of those games that we just go out and handle them. Now, their pass game is limited. And one of the things they do in their pass game is they try and get quick, easy passes for their quarterback. So here you're going to see just basically a pick play, a screen play. They're going to come down and block on the edge, throw this out in the flat off a quick sprint out, gives the quarterback a nice, easy completion, gets his confidence going, and gets the ball out in the edge to one of their running backs. You can see, nice and easy. A throw, again, even at my advanced age and lack of skill, I can still complete that. They get a 20-yard play out of that play, and those are the kind of explosive plays that they're going to have to try and get out of the pass game. Now, we talked about the jet sweep. You saw the run play we showed already, faking the jet sweep. Here they're going to hand the ball off, bring these two guys to the edge. Take a look at this. And this is a dangerous play because if these guys get loose, as you'll see on this play, they've got a number of guys they run it to, so you can't key in on any one guy. But if they get loose, a number of them can go to distance, and that's going to be something Penn State's got to prevent. Now, once you start playing all that stuff, they'll come up with some kind of gimmick. And here they're going to run the jet sweep again, and everybody's going to come flying up, and now they're going to throw the ball, and you'll see how effective this is. So take a look at this one. They hand the ball to him. That guy starts to drop back, give ground a little bit. Now he's thrown out there. Wasn't a great throw. That looks like one of my throws would be a little duck, so to speak, but the duck ended up in the end zone.
Two things to remember with that, they have nothing to lose. They got to win this game to be bowl eligible, and Penn State's defense susceptible to trick plays. They have not stopped many trick plays. Let's switch to the other side of the ball.
Now, defensively, the thing is, Penn State is playing a good secondary here. They're playing a team that's got 18 interceptions, leads the country interceptions. So they got to take care of the football. Let's take a look at the numbers for the pass game the last couple of years. You look at pass efficiency for Trace Mcsorley, the previous 3 seasons, two seasons in one game he played in the bowl game, 152. This year, 121. And since the Ohio State game has really dropped to 108 and only 167 yards per game passing. So let's talk about what the challenges are going to face, because it's going to be a challenge for them. Number 7, one of their corners has 11 pass breaks up on the year. That pass breakups in the year, that's a big number. The linebacker, number 33, has 5 interceptions. The safety's got 4 interceptions. When you get to third down, what you're going to see is you're going to see some man-to-man. They're going to lock up the outside guys, and then they'll try and spy the quarterback with these guys. So take a look at how this works out. And again, this is against Texas. Sam Ehlinger is a very similar quarterback to Trace Mcsorley in that he will run and throw. But you see how aggressive they are to come up and break the ball, break up passes. Now, when you talk about their base defense, it depends on downs, but there'll be 2 linebackers and a nickel there or another linebacker, experienced guys there, aggressive run support with their safeties, and they'll try and lock up the outside receivers, as we've seen a number of different weeks. And Penn State has had some trouble on the outside, beating those guys one-on-one, and had to rely on the slot stuff. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Hamler and the guys in the slot. The wide, contained defensive ends are going to do everything they can to keep Mcsorley in the pocket and make him throw the ball. Take a look at how they do that here. Those guys are up the field, inside, you run a little twist. So even if Ehlinger wants to scramble there, and again, that'll be Mcsorley on Saturday, if he wants to scramble, they do a good job getting some push up front. Now, to change things up, in their base coverage, one of the weaknesses of that base coverage is the slot receiver, which is KJ Hamler for Penn State, a big play guy. You got the out throws here. You got those RPO throws here on the slants. So they show you the same coverage, and what they're going to do now, they're going to rotate to a 3-deep coverage. He's going to come down here and play this to take away that throw and take away anything in here, and these guys are going to roll this way. So you come off this ball thinking, I'm going here with it, and all of a sudden they change the coverage, and take a look at that. So that's going to be a challenge. They do some really good things in the coverage, and that's one of the reasons that they're good in terms of getting a lot of turnovers like they do. The other thing that's going to be a challenge is Penn State's receivers are going to have to block the edge very aggressively in the run game. You're going to see here how quickly these guys, they run a blitz off the edge. Next thing you know, these guys are filling like crazy. And watch the contact with the wide receivers on the video when these guys come up. They don't come up here to play patty cake. They're coming up and they're nailing people. And then it cleans it up for the safety. And again, turnovers. Going to be key even this Saturday.
This is not the Rutgers matchup. You're going to see a lot more explosive plays on both sides of the ball. And if they miss DJ Durkin anywhere, it is on this defensive side of the ball with his input.
No question. But it's going to be one of those games Penn State should win, but they got to take care of the football.
We're out of the film room, back on the set when we come back. Well, we've mentioned the youthfulness of this team. Not a lot of seniors, but the one guy that stands out, guys, is Trace Mcsorley. Broke the program record for wins by a starting quarterback at 30. What do you think? I mean, he's had quite a career.
No question about it. And, there was some concern when Hackenberg left early that who would take his place. And I think obviously he's filled in more than admirably.
Yeah, and it's the leadership that's going to be remembered. Player after player talks about how Mcsorley's impacted them. Tommy Stevens, KJ Hamler, both these guys have said it after a couple games this season. So definitely, as a leader and as a player, he's going to be missed.
You guys have talked about how you will remember him, and we asked Trace Mcsorley, how do you want to be remembered?
I've just kind of tried to have the same attitude that I had even back then as a freshman. Just come in, work hard, do everything I can for this team, do anything the coaches ask me, and be a leader for this team, be someone that anyone can come to on the field, off the field, whatever it might be. And I hope that the teammates that I'll leave with this program, they can kind of continue to look back on it, and hopefully guys will feel like I had an impact on their careers, like I felt Christian had an impact on mine.
Yeah, not a lot of the other seniors had massive impacts. Definitely some. Your thoughts on the senior class, even though it's somewhat limited.
Well, I think they did some really important things, and in this year has really been kind of a transition year from the last 2 years, and this team could have turned at a number of different times and gone into the tank, so to speak, and they've kept them going.
Yeah, and again, that speaks to the leadership that we've been talking about, and it's not just Mcsorley on offense. Nick Scott, captain, senior leader, Amani Oruwariye, the same thing. So really, these guys have been, as you said, Jay, just really steering the ship, because it's been kind of a rocky ride this season.
All right, as the backup quarterback, they're only giving me half a show, 30 minutes, and I got to give it my all for Steve as we get to the next segment. So Steve, if you're watching, get rid of the siesta, put down the margarita. Here it is. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Josh, you're in. The good, of course.
Yeah, the good has been something that's going on all season, with all the drama and the terrible things that have gone on with the Maryland program, it's great to see their team continuing to honor Jordan McNair. So you got to give it up to him for that.
I get the bad, and I remember that game against Pitt early in the season, 51-6, and I remember them getting smoked by UCF. We'll be watching them in the ACC championship game against Clemson. That does not speak well for the Coastal Division.
And I got an ugly. An ugly is Sharif Miller taking his helmet off Saturday to get in a fight. If you're going to get in the fight on the football field, do not take your helmet off. If it's off, put it on. So that's just, little tip for you guys if you get into a fight in the football field.
For several reasons. The other guy still got his helmet
exactly
on, and
right.
it cost you 15
for protection.
yards.
The 15 yards bad enough.
She called us out earlier with the pick segments. Let's start with Brittany. What do you got with Notre Dame and USC?
Our producer decided to give me an easy game this week. Guys, I'm going to have to go with Notre Dame. They're coming off of a big win in Yankee Stadium against a ranked opponent. USC just hasn't played a team at this level yet. I expect the Irish to win big. Now, Josh, chomp or chop?
To put it simple, Florida State has struggled against these ranked opponents this year, with the exception of Boston College last week. I think the Gators are going to be too much for them.
I got LSU at Texas A&M. I think LSU dominates this one. I think Texas A&M is a little bit of disarray, but they're a young team, but definitely LSU.
I get the game, and this is a game that Jim Harbaugh has to win, and I think they will. I think the Wolverines will take it. Josh, your keys to the game.
Establish the run. We've talked a lot about the run game. Miles Sanders, 50 carries combined in those last two wins. If you feed the beast, you're going to win.
I think without question it's coming down to turnovers and a couple special teams play, because Maryland has speed all over the place. If they get turnovers, this can be a long day for Penn State.
You got to start scoring touchdowns again, quit kicking field goals and settling. It's great to get in the red zone, but you're going to have to against Maryland to do this team. Okay, Josh, great job. That chair, easily replaceable. I can be replaced at any time. Steve, irreplaceable. We miss you. Hope all of you have a great Thanksgiving weekend and enjoy the Feast of Hoops. We'll see you next time for the Bowl Show.